Good morning, everyone, and I hope you're doing very well. Apologies for keeping you waiting to start this town hall off. It's my fault. I turned up a little bit too late. I was too busy celebrating the victory for Real Madrid last night over PSG with Pedro, who, as you all know, is a big fan of Real Madrid, and was delighted to see them win the game last night. For those that don't know me, my name's John Saffret. I'm the Deputy CEO of ALD. And we thought we'd take the opportunity of my visit to Spain to have a town hall with you, bring you up to date with some of the things that are going on in the organization, and also give you the opportunity to ask us some questions as well about what is happening at ALD at the global level, but also any specific issues in Spain that you'd like to discuss as well. I'm going to take the opportunity to go through three things with you today. Firstly, I'm going to cover the impact of the horrible issues that we're experiencing in Ukraine and Russia and how ALD is responding to this. Then I will talk about the overall performance of ALD and also the performance of Spain within that context. And lastly, I will give you an update on where we are with regard to our planning for the integration and acquisition of LeasePlan that was announced in January. So firstly, I'd like to start with just a summary of what actions we are taking with regard to Ukraine and Russia and the impact on our operating business in those countries. For those that don't know, we have a business in Ukraine and we have 60 employees on the ground in Kiev. And obviously with the bombardment that Kiev is suffering and the challenges that Ukraine faces as a country, we have a responsibility to look after these employees and firstly ensure they are safe and well and ensure that their families are safe and well, and provide whatever assistance we can to support them in making decisions about staying or exiting the country. We're in touch with all of those employees on a daily basis, and we're providing support to them and their families if they choose to leave Ukraine and cross the border into one of the neighboring countries. We've also animated ALD resources in those neighboring countries, Hungary, Poland, Romania being three examples, to try to enable those people to cross the border where they need to and ensure the safe passage of them and their families out of Ukraine. ALD as a company will be making a significant donation to two charitable companies that are supporting the efforts on the ground in Ukraine. This is in addition to a larger donation that has been made by the bank Societe Generale to these two companies. And we then open up the opportunity for all of our ALD family, our employees, our managers, our entities, our partners, our suppliers to contribute further under the name of ALD to these causes. We take very seriously the obligation to support our employees in Ukraine, but obviously we still have some kind of client ongoing activity on the ground in Ukraine as well. And we've been inspired by the efforts of our employees in Ukraine to try to continue to providing services to our clients on the ground, even in the middle of these desperate times that they face. We've carried out a number of changes on the technology side to ensure that any platform or system that's used by Ukraine is secured, and we've made sure that we can continue to provide the minimum level of continuity and technology service on the ground in Ukraine to support our clients who need our support during this time as well. But our primary focus is on ensuring the safety and welfare of our employees and their families, and that's what we'll continue to work on until hopefully we reach a conclusion to this horrible crisis. Now, in the context of the Ukraine crisis, there's obviously also an impact on Russia, not only because of the sanctions that are being imposed on Russian companies and Russian individuals, but also because of the counter-sanctions that the Russian authorities are threatening to impose on Western companies that operate in Russia. ALD has around 150 people on the ground in Russia, servicing our international clients primarily, and there's a fleet of around 20,000 vehicles. Along with the bank, who have a significant retail bank in Russia, we've taken steps to secure the technology infrastructure and capabilities on the ground in Russia, primarily to address any increased risk from cybersecurity or hacking threats. And now we watch the situation in Russia very closely to see how the various governments decide to implement sanctions against each other. Again, in amongst the terrible scenes that are occurring in Ukraine, we shouldn't lose focus on the fact that we have members of the ALD family in Russia as well. who find themselves in this position, regardless of whether they choose to be in this position as well. And we want to reassure all them, and I'm sure you will share me in sending your wishes to them as well as to our colleagues in Ukraine, that they remain part of the ALD family, and we will do our very best to look after them as well, and their families and the well-being during this period. We continue to take whatever steps we have to address the increased sanctions that are being introduced, and also to make sure that our employees and our businesses in Ukraine and Russia are sustainable for a period of time. And as things change, we'll keep you informed, and we will also inform the markets about any financial impact arising from this crisis. Now, what I will move on to is the performance of ALD and the performance of ALD Spain in the last 12 months and the outlook going forward in the market, and how we see some of the trends in the market impacting our business performance in 2022 and beyond. There is an opportunity, by the way, to ask questions and to post questions in the Teams meeting that we have set up here. And I'll also leave time at the end to discuss those questions with you if you need to. So 2021 was obviously a very, very, very promising year, a very encouraging year for ALD in the middle of the COVID crisis. I don't think anyone would have believed that we would have lurched from COVID into the situation we find ourselves in Ukraine now. But we saw a very strong performance, primarily driven by used car sales. And as an executive, we were delighted with the yearly performance that we achieved and that was announced to the market in February. Obviously, 22 continues some of those trends, and some of the impacts of COVID continue into 22. But you also now, on top of that, have some of the geopolitical impacts that I mentioned earlier. New car supply remains challenging in every country, particularly in Spain. You're impacted by this, but we see lead times on cars going up to 9 to 12 months. We see manufacturers struggling to maintain the pricing of cars due to the increase in scarce resources pricing that they use to build the cars and the lack of supply of some of those components as well. And therefore we can anticipate in 22 that fleet growth will be extremely challenging on our core business. And the focus needs to continue on an extension program for all of our corporate clients, as well as leveraging our flex fleets, an area in which you're particularly strong in Spain, and other areas of the business to look for new growth opportunities. In Spain, obviously, we were delighted to complete the acquisition of Sabadell, and one of the challenges for you in Spain is to sweat Sabadell during 22, establish a very strong operating platform alongside Sabadell, so that we take advantage of any commercial opportunities in the market, and we position ourselves to benefit from the growth when it does return from the market as well. And as you'll know, at the global level, we also made some acquisitions in 21 with regard to Fleetpool, the largest digital car subscription platform in Europe, and Skipper, which is a Belgium-based multi-modality platform, ideally suited for corporates who are looking to follow an ESG and sustainability agenda in offering their employees alternative means of transport to just having a car. And we have ambitious rollout plans for both of those platforms in 2022 and beyond, alongside continuing to drive the performance of some of our existing partners, such as Tesla, Polestar, and deploying new partners such as Smart. We have secured an exclusive agreement to provide leasing services within 17 countries, and I know the CEO at Smart has big ambitions for what he's going to achieve in Spain alongside ALD as well. So despite some of the challenges in the market, we remain very, very confident that the business is extremely resilient. We're very, very confident that we have the best team in the industry that's going to help us navigate all of these challenges. And we're very, very proud of the performance that all of you have delivered in order to allow us to share with our shareholders these exceptional results. And I should say that really over and over again, that it's you and your work on a daily basis that's helped deliver these results. We have the privilege as an executive to sit in front of shareholders and sit in front of Société Générale and tell them about these wonderful results. But in all honesty, you're the people on the ground that are delivering on a day-to-day basis, addressing client needs, solving client problems, and making sure that we delight our clients with new products and services, so they want to continue to use ALD as the mobility provider of the future. Another of these growing trends in 22 that we need to make sure we're fully in front of is around sustainability and the transition to electric vehicles. We've had an ALD electric product, which we've deployed in Spain, along with a number of other countries in the last 18 months. And we continue to look at rolling out that product in other countries through 22 and 23. We also look to focus on how we can have different roles and different opportunities within the electric vehicle ecosystem, particularly around opportunities in charging and the provision of charge point infrastructure, along with our partner ChargePoint, who we're using on a global basis. And Annie and the team are working on a number of opportunities that we believe are going to support us in the future in this area as well. So globally, the performance has been really good. How about Spain? Well, we're very happy with the performance of our ALD Spain entity. We always have been. You've continued to be one of the best performers in the group over the last 10, 15 years. You continue to be one of the most efficient entities in the group, and you've been one of the growth engines of the group during that time. And not only have you been a great local partner for the group, you've supported us in global initiatives where we have global teams based with you and co-hosted with you in Spain. And we've also had the chance to explore some interesting investments in Spain, such as the BBVA and Sabadell opportunities that we've dealt with in the past. So keep up the energy in Spain, keep up the focus, and keep up this spirit, which makes you a very special part of the ALD group. And I have the privilege of being your supervisor and spending time with you. And I always come away from Spain feeling full of energy and full of life because of what I see and what I hear as I walk around the business. So the outlook's very promising. We have some challenges, but we're very confident we can deal with that. And on top of that, we decided in January, as you know, to announce the intention to acquire the LeasePlan business. Now, let me just say this wasn't a short-term ambition. I rejoined ALD in 2015, and in that time, a number of times we've revisited the opportunity of bringing LeasePlan and ALD together to create this mega mobility player in Europe and globally, to deal with the challenges that are coming from all of the OEM captives and the other leasing companies, and also position ourselves best to become this global leader of sustainable mobility moving forward. We announced on the 6th of January that we intend to acquire the LeasePlan business and bring the two companies together in the next 3 years. But let me tell you a little bit about the timing of that deal and what will happen when, to give you a flavor of what you'll see in the coming months. The first goal was to build a global team that would coordinate the activities and would work out exactly what we need to do to bring the two companies together. Firstly, from a global perspective, and secondly, from a local perspective. And we're well advanced in building that global team. We've made the announcement about Laurent Saucier rejoining us from Société Générale to lead the integration efforts on the ALD side. And we're very close now to finalizing the structure of that integration management office, which will drive the program, and also identifying leaders and sponsors of each of those streams who have the responsibility for defining the mandates of those streams and making sure that we have a clear idea of who is responsible for what. Now that's step one, which is to put it all down on paper. But there's a second step, which is actually to do and actually to deliver. And the project will very soon move into the execution phase, where we will start to meet more frequently at the global level and at the local level with functional teams, with a set of global principles defined, where we'll start to ask the local teams to meet and define what the integration looks like on the ground in their countries. Now, you'll have the support of the global teams in doing this. We will be looking to use as many of our talents as possible to bring into those meetings and help shape this new company and this new vision of what we're going to be, both at the local level and the global level. And we're very conscious that this integration provides a wonderful opportunity for the next generation of ALD talents and leaders to define what this company is going to look like into the 2030s and the 2040s, long after some of the existing leadership have moved on. So we reach out to you and ask for your support in this process, to contribute to all the work streams, to be excited about the opportunity facing us in creating this new global leader of sustainable mobility, and to help us engage and embrace the LeasePlan community and create something which is even better than the sum of the parts if you took the two companies and put them together today. I've had the pleasure of spending some time with the LeasePlan teams over the acquisition period before the deal was announced and since. And I was sharing with the management team yesterday that sometimes when you have a competitor, you build an image in your mind of what the competitor is and who they are and how they act and what they do. And what I can tell you is after spending a lot of time with the LeasePlan people, they're just like us. They feel already like they're the same people that we have in ALD. They have the same innovation spirit, the same drive to be successful. Yes, they do some things differently. That's natural. They've been in a different company to us, but it doesn't mean they do it wrong. Doesn't mean we do it right. It just means we've chosen to take different paths in the past. And now the challenge for all of us, from Tim as the CEO of the new organization, all throughout the organization, is to create a new company with a new set of shared values, vision, goals, and objectives, and bring these two great companies together as quickly as possible to create this new entity. So I've talked about the formation of the integration office, and I've talked about the planning piece. The challenge on an integration project of this size is that you can't actually do anything until the deal is done, and the deal is not done yet. There are two things that need to happen in order for the deal to be done. And by done, I mean the acquisition is complete and LeasePlan is then owned by ALD. The first thing is that ALD needs to achieve a regulatory status. Some of you have been involved in a project called Project Lily, which is aimed at establishing that regulatory status and all of the controls and reporting linked to it as well. And Project Lily started in the middle of last year and will continue to run up to the end of this year, at least, up to the end of 2022. And the deal cannot close until Project Lily has been completed. The deal also cannot close till we've had the permission from the European Commission authorities to proceed with the deal. And that includes a review by the antitrust authorities at the European level that they're happy for LeasePlan and ALD to merge at the global level, at the European level, and at the country level. We're currently preparing that filing, and we'll be submitting that filing to the antitrust authorities towards the end of March. And from that point, you have a 6 to 9 month timeline while the authorities review your submission and decide whether to give permissions for you to continue or to give permissions for you to continue with some restrictions or some conditions attached to it. So therefore, the deal will close, or the deal will get done sometimes towards the end of 22 and maybe even in early 2023. And what it means is during this time, we have a window to complete all of our planning, to make all of the decisions at the local level about what the new organization will look like, to make all of our decisions around the technologies we're going to use, to make all of the decisions about how we're going to organize ourselves. And then when the deal closes, we can push a button and we can execute those integration plans with a lot of the emotion taken out of the decision-making process. And we've made a commitment to the market that the majority of the integration efforts will be completed by the end of 2024. Now, the integration efforts are, in a lot of cases, going to have to be tactical in order to bring the two companies together and allow them to operate as one at the local level. But it doesn't mean that we lose our ambition of being the global leading player and of building the perfect operating model in the future. A lot of the initiatives we outlined in our Move 2025 plan, in fact. And the LeasePlan acquisition is actually an acceleration of a number of those objectives and strategic ambitions we outlined in Move 2025. And therefore, once the integration effort is over, we will then move to a second phase and move to a real target operating model for the business, where we can benefit from this booming mobility economy and make sure that we deliver all these wonderful products and services that our clients need. And that is why the timing of the initial integration effort is key, because we've got to make sure that we don't lose focus on the outside world while we're busy running this integration program internally. Now, I know that in an integration effort like this and a large M&A action like this, a lot of people start to feel a bit unsettled, a little bit concerned about what role they will have in the future as well. So let me reassure you, we take this very seriously at the global level and at the executive team level. And we've started to manage that process now to ensure that as far as possible, no one need to leave ALD or LeasePlan if they don't want to. And we will look at opportunities to move people into new roles and retrain them into new roles. And we've started to manage now some of the natural departures that all businesses experience and try to ensure that we don't replace people with full-time employees now, so that we start to reduce our overall combined headcount in preparation for the integration effort. But again, let me remind you that integration effort runs until the end of 24 and early 25. So no one should have any immediate concerns about what happens to them. But we will communicate with you in due course about what's happening at the global level and the local level, and a new global communication plan will be pulled together, and you'll start to see the benefits of that shortly. We've developed a branding and a naming for the program, and all communications around the program will be delivered to you under that branding, with dedicated spaces on all of our intranets for you to find information about how the program is going, and also to meet some of the key people that are working on the program. We fundamentally believe at the Exco this is one of the most exciting generational opportunities this industry has ever seen. We've been looking at this deal for a number of years. We can't believe our luck in being able to find a slot now in order to get the deal done. And it has our full commitment and support. And I hope you will be as excited by we are about what we think we can create in the future. It will give us unlimited digital investment capacity. It will give us unlimited scale across countries, and our positioning within countries will increase. And it will also make us the leading player on sustainable mobility, simply by the fact we'll be running the largest electric vehicle fleet in the world. And this will allow us to develop new products and services and new knowledge about what's happening in that EV ecosystem. So that's all the information that I was going to share with you today. I want to wrap up by passing again my thanks and my gratitude from all of the team in Paris and from all of our shareholders and Société Générale about all of your efforts on the ground. It's been an incredibly challenging period with COVID and the impact of COVID. And we're very, very conscious that we want to maintain the ALD family, the ALD spirit and the ALD culture. And we're encouraging people to try to spend time together and try to maintain that ALD spirit as much as possible in all the countries and at the global level as well. Spending time together allows us to build that DNA. And actually, we always make the guys at Société Générale laugh, because whenever we go to any Société Générale event, at some point during the evening, all of the ALD managers end up congregating together in one corner. And some managers in the bank say, oh, this is you guys, you're operating independently from the bank again. And we actually say to them, no, we actually like each other. And we actually like spending time with each other. And actually, it's one of the great things about coming into work at ALD, because I think a lot of people just like spending time with each other and they like being with their colleagues. So take these opportunities now that the restrictions of COVID have eased up to spend time again with your colleagues and enjoy their time and enjoy those precious moments that we missed so greatly during the COVID period. So I'm going to finish talking there. I'm going to turn to the organizers to see if we have any questions that need to be answered. And again, thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, John. Okay, the first one is not a question, it's just a comment. And he says, hi, John. First of all my support to our Ukrainian colleagues, their families, and to all the Ukrainian people. The next question, is there already an estimated impact of this merge with LeasePlan in our staffs, both ALD and LeasePlan? No, there's been an assessment. There's been an assessment done of potential operating cost savings as part of the integration. The majority of those operating costs come from procurement, and our ability to procure more tires. Will be the biggest buyer of tires in the world, will be the biggest buyer of cars in Europe, and the majority of the operating cost synergies are coming from that. And then on top of that, you've got some technology savings and platform savings, and you have some real estate savings as well, where we'll be able to bring people together into existing offices. It's going to be a special offer to ALD employees to be shareholders of this new entity?
We're in discussions about that. It's actually, the cost of running an employee share scheme is actually quite high. It's a good question, but there's actually a very high administration cost in running a dedicated employee share schemes.
The long-term incentive program that we have available to us, where we gift shares to employees as part of recognition of good performance, is a much more efficient method of doing that. But we do want employees to have the opportunity to benefit from what we're going to create in the future, and therefore we'll continue to look at opportunities for them to be involved.
Okay, good morning, John. I have three questions. What would you say are the main difference between ALD and LeasePlan way of doing business?
The first difference that's noticeable is LeasePlan are probably more centralized in how they manage the commercial activities of their business. They have a much more centralized pricing function, not only on the residual value side, but actually on the margin side. And they manage their large international corporates much more centrally than we do, and provide a much more consistent offer. That's probably the main difference when I look at the experience we've had with them. After that, I think we both have the potential to present a global business to our clients, but behind the scenes, we're a number of independent countries working together. And actually, I think LeasePlan suffer the same as we do, in that they've grown organically across a range of countries as well, and they have all of the same challenges we do on the ground and in the countries. They're facing all the same problems we are as well. Both companies have got an ambition to become a bit more global in how we think and act, because particularly on the digital side, the investment has to be done at the global level as well. But the fundamental piece is really in this element of centralization that they have, particularly around those key clients.
Okay. What do you consider the main challenges of this integration?
Well, firstly, there's the execution of it. I think the operational execution of bringing the companies together. I always say to people that this project is a bit like the largest onion in the world, and every time we pull one more layer of the onion out, there's more complexity appearing and more specifics. And that's why we fundamentally believe it's a local execution on this program that's going to deliver it. We're not arrogant enough to believe that at the global level we know all the answers. So we're very keen to get the local entities involved as quickly as possible, both on the LeasePlan side and the ALD side, by the way. The other risk is around creating this new culture which resonates with both sets of employees and makes them feel like they're part of something bigger and better. And again, I think before we got to know LeasePlan, we probably over-exaggerated that cultural difference. But actually, as I said, when you spend time with them, they're very similar to us in their spirit. Their culture is very similar. They just use different words to describe it. And I think we're going to have a big focus in the next few months of creating this new common culture and vision for the company, which we think will resonate with both sets of employees.
And the third question here is, do you think Mbappe will be good for Real Madrid?
I think Mbappe will be good for Real Madrid. I'm not sure Real Madrid will be good for Mbappe. But I think if he's going to join anyone, he's going to join Real Madrid, because they're the only guys that can afford him today.
To what extent it's going to impact the escalation of prices in energy, especially in the electricity, the plan to push electricity mobility?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, one of the key trends on electrification and the transition to electric vehicles has been total cost of ownership. And one of the key drivers of that leveling up of total cost of ownership has been the increase in fuel prices versus the cost of electricity. Now, clearly the crisis in Ukraine is going to drive up the cost of electricity, but it's also driving up the cost of petrol and diesel. So it's not one being affected. And if anything, the cost of petrol and diesel is probably being affected more as a scale impact than electricity as well. I think there is an increasing narrative emerging in the West about reducing any dependence on oil and diesel coming from Russia, and Russia being one of the biggest suppliers in the world of oil. So I think it will not slow down the trend to electrification. For some reason, people seem to be detached. When they look at electricity, they detach themselves from the way electricity is generated, in fact. And as we know from some of the analysis we've done, an electric car is only as green as the electricity it's using is as green. So in countries that are very nuclear, it's very clean. In countries that use coal-powered power stations, it's very dirty. But I think the trend towards EV is now not going to stop, and it will continue to move at a faster pace.
We don't have more questions. Thank you very much, John.
Okay, so I want to thank you all for your time. I hope you stay safe and well. As I said, we during the COVID crisis, we kept saying to everyone, stay safe and stay healthy. And when we come out the other side, spend time with your loved ones and spend time with your friends and family and your colleagues and enjoy those moments. I think now with the context of what's going on at the global level, it's even more important to enjoy those moments because as we've seen for the Ukrainian people, those moments can be snatched away in a minute. So please stay safe and well and enjoy your loved ones, and we'll look forward to spending time with you very soon and coming to see you in Madrid very soon. Take care, everyone.